The EP Podcast. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always at theeppodcast.com.
And bellying up to the 9-foot homemade oak bar, pour yourself a cold one. This is the EP Podcast. My name is Chris. That's Hannah.
Hey.
And this episode of the EP Podcast, a special episode with a very special guest sitting down here with us at the bar in just a few minutes, is brought to you by the First National Bank of Evergreen Park. You need a bank you can rely on, one that is part of the community, one that doesn't have overdraft fees, one where you use an ATM anywhere with any fee that ATM or bank puts on you. The First National Bank of Evergreen Park puts the money back in your charge. Therefore, no ATM fees on any ATM. That's crazy. 5.35% interest on their 11-month CD, 4% on a savings account. They've got stuff for the kids. I think that's the easiest thing, Hannah.
4% on a savings account.
I know. It's crazy. Like, if only we could save money in this house. Maybe we'll be able to save a little bit this summer. I mean, the tuition takes a break between Brother Rice, Mother Macaulay, and Most Holy Redeemer.
Right.
I mean, like I'm going to get like a 2-month break here. And then it goes back. Maybe I can save myself a few pennies. Probably not, though. But if I were able to save pennies, then I could get 4% on those pennies. Stop in and see them, that iconic building at 95th and Pulaski. See more at bankevergreenpark.com. I am super excited.
Yeah?
That school is coming to a close soon. And unfortunately, the one school drop-off that I still hate the most is still going on. Like, the high school kids are done.
Okay.
They're done. They've had their finals. They're done. They're out. The 7-year-old is miserable because he's going to be in school for another week and a half.
Like June 7th, you told me.
It's brutal. He's going to be in school for a little while here. So he's just miserable. And he keeps going like, why am I in school? And I'm like, because you don't do anything. Like, your sister had a calculus final and an AP English test that she had to take, and your brother's taking honors German, and all you have to do is spell these 6 words, and you get a week to study them. It's not the same level, big guy. That's why they get out a few weeks before you. But when I drop him off at school, I'm still coming across the most important people in Evergreen Park. It's these people that believe. And here's the thing. I don't think they're doing it meanly. Like, the person I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to try to be as nondescript as possible, right? I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. But this is just a perfect example of like how oblivious people can be about the others around them.
Yeah.
We have a drop-off line, and we have a parking lot.
Okay.
The parking lot is for the parents that are going to pull up their car and get their kid out and walk their kid to the door.
Makes sense.
That's what happens. The drop-off line is pull up. When you get within a certain zone near the door, not too soon, there's a sign that says, don't drop off till you pass this sign. And then you get to the door and it's like, all right, this is where you stop. You got to drop off. At that point, you pull up, kids get out on their own, go in. There's this one woman who I seem to be behind every time over the last month and a half, who pulls up and everything's moving along, man. You pull in, you're waiting in your queue. Like, I pull up, and as soon as I get into the queue and I've got about 4 or 5 cars, I'm like, all right, jump up, big guy, give me a kiss. He jumps up from the back seat, gives me a kiss. He gets his backpack on. He's standing at the door like a paratrooper. Like, he's ready to jump the moment the red light goes on. He's jumping out and running, right? He's just got to remember to shut the door. And in reality, that's the only reason why I would have to get out of the car. If the idiot jumped out of the car and didn't shut the door. Otherwise, we keep moving because there's a big line behind me.
Right.
This woman pulls up in her fancy SUV every single time. She stops the car, she puts it in park, she gets out of the car and proceeds to open up the first back door where the daughter steps out. The daughter takes just all of her time, and I don't blame her because she looks like she's in preschool.
Okay.
Like, she's a preschooler.
Yeah.
She's not capable of putting her backpack on, jumping out of the car, and not getting run over by somebody in the parking lot. That's why you park the car and you walk her to the door.
That's why you park the car.
But it says she's out of the thing, and now she doesn't lift the child out of the car. No. We have to wait for the child to navigate sliding out of the seat. This takes a full 2 minutes. Everybody just has to wait. Okay? Now,
no one's blowing their horns?
The little boy gets out on the other side. He at least is capable of doing that. But then he waits because he can't figure out how to put the book bag on his back. So mom takes care of the daughter. We've now spent a couple of minutes here watching this happen. Now, daughter walks around. Son is standing there needing his backpack put on. There are 3 doors open in this car at this moment. It's a full stop. The line is out into the street and curving around the school. People are sitting there going, what's the hold up here? I mean, is there an accident up here? Like, why is this taking so long? Meanwhile, Mom is like, she's got her hair done. She's got her sweater on. She's got her outfit on. She's waving to people who are parked because their kids are the same age.
Oh, no.
And they know to park, and she's in the line, and she's like, how you doing? She starts having conversations.
Oh, my God. Chris, I would be laying on my horn. I would be that mom. I would be that mom.
Now, here's the thing.
Jumping out with the bedhead, going berserk. That would be me.
If I were a stressed out parent, right? If I were trying to get to work, I'm a podcaster for crying out loud, right? Like every morning I get there, and my son will be like, what's going on? I'm like, they got to get these two kids out of the car again. And I just sit there and I watch this circus that's going on, either a couple cars in front of me or directly in front of me. And you can see the exhaustion on the face of everybody else. To me, all I'm really going to do is drive my little car home and watch something on Netflix for a half hour and have breakfast because I set my own hours and I work at home, right?
Yeah.
Like this isn't killing me. I don't blow stop signs because I'm never late. So, I mean, this isn't killing me. But what's amazing is just watching it all back up. And now finally all the bags are on and she gives the kisses to him. Again, my guy's kissing me as he's pulling in the lot. He's ready to jump out.
Because he knows.
I'm holding him. He's like, can I get out? Can I get out? No, we're not past the sign. You can't get out yet, buddy. He's just waiting. He's waiting. Okay. Now they go off and now she's got to shut all three doors. And as she's doing it, she's talking to people. Completely oblivious.
I would be causing a scene.
I mean, the other day it was 15 cars back if it was one. 15 cars that I could see, and then as I look back at my rear view, they were stretched around the building and I couldn't see how far back it was. It could have been a block down to the next stop sign. And people are probably sitting there going, what the heck is going on?
Y'all are too nice.
I mean, look, if somebody else were to beep, that's on them. I'm not starting a fight in the kids' school. There are enough people over at that school that think I'm a jerk. Trust me. There's enough people who are like, oh, the loudmouth of the podcast. But my guy jumps out like a paratrooper because he's been trained.
Because he knows.
Because he knows for crying out loud.
Knows.
Pull over in the parking space and just park there. Sitting down here at the 9-foot homemade oak bar with Hannah and myself.
Hello.
Eric Herrera is a local Evergreen Park veteran. He wrote a book, A Bomb Hunter's Story. In the book, he describes how he's been blown up a few times by some IEDs. And he's told his story here before on the EP podcast. I have him in here for two reasons. One, Memorial Day just happened this weekend, and it's a great time to sit down and talk about our vets because that's really what that day is about. And then secondly, I just like having a drink with the guy. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm good. So this day, you've talked to me about this before. Veterans Day is for the vets that are walking around. Memorial Day is for those that we lost. So this weekend was all about remembrance for you. And speaking of remembering, you're sitting down here with us as we're getting ready to start talking, and you were mentioning that you were in country when Saddam Hussein was executed, right?
We had an early mission that day, so the streets were completely empty, and we knew the hanging was happening in the middle of the night because they didn't want people to come around or videotape it, but they ended up videotaping it. So, but all of a sudden everyone just started running in the streets cheering. We kind of didn't know what was going on, but then we had to realize, that today's the hanging, so everyone was running in the streets. But yeah, it was a good day.
Did you get the feeling when you were over there that they were like very happy he was gone? Was that the general consensus?
Most of the people, yeah. But you always have
some people that had like, Saddam 2020, posters in their front yard. Yeah.
Well, then they were also glad that he was gone because then they could do whatever they want.
Yeah, well, then it was wide open.
It was wide open season.
Didn't end, that's for sure.
Yeah.
No, not at all. I got a lot I want to get to with you on this episode, special post-Memorial Day weekend interview. Eric's got his own book, A Bomb Hunter's Story. Sounds like good summer reading to me. Do not forget about the Evergreen Park Library's Summer Reading Kickoff Party. That party is June the 10th, starting at 1:30 in the afternoon for a couple hours out there in the library parking lot. The Summer Reading Challenge kicks off with a petting zoo. The Evergreen Park Fire Department fire trucks will be there with gear for the kids to check out. A balloon toss. A video game truck provided by Rolling Video Games Chicago. Rainbow Cone is going to be there while supplies last. Then kids and adults, yes, the entire family, sign up for the Summer Reading Challenge. Start logging the minutes you read this summer to earn prizes. It should be a great afternoon on June 10th over at the Evergreen Park Public Library. Now back to you, Eric. Where were you at? Always in Iraq, or did you go to Afghanistan at all?
No, I went to Iraq both times. So
Yeah.
Baghdad the first time, and then second time, a little about an hour and a half south of there was a small town called Hilla. That's where Saddam
I've
had
heard of Hilla.
Saddam had all his mass graves down there. So the town was being dug up. They're trying to put infrastructure in there. So yeah, that was a big touchy subject going down there because it was constantly trying to get the town back up, and it was like the biggest, closest town in the area for Baghdad. So yeah, they were trying to get back on their feet.
When you're walking around in something like that, and you're in the middle of an active war, but you're doing things. You're not fighting a battle every day. Do you get to the point where after you've seen enough action that like sometimes the guard comes down a little bit and you get too comfortable? Or is it something where you walk off the base, you drive off the base, you're always on alert and you have to be?
Oh, we're always on alert, but there's always those special days where we kind of get like that tingly feeling on the back of your neck, like something's going to happen.
Did you get anything like that when you had the bombs explode? I think you were in vehicles every time when you got blown up.
Yeah, the first incident we had on Christmas Day, we just had this inkling something was going to happen, and we were really quiet that night out, and then, yeah, fortunately, it did happen that night.
You go through it in the book. You were part of a unit that was hunting the bombs, but then, unfortunately, when you're hunting them, sometimes they get you.
Oh, we would find an IED like every other day.
Yeah.
Sometimes we wouldn't see it, it would explode on us. I mean, I've been blown up maybe 2-3 times, but I have guys that 4, 5, 6 times have been hit. A lot. So yeah, it's almost like second nature after a while. But as messed up as that sounds, but yeah, just something you kind of got used to, and then we just had to go on.
Take me through that one, the one on Christmas. Like you get the tingly feeling. You're going out at night. What are you planning on doing that night? Do you have a specific mission, and then you just happen to hit something, or are you looking for something at that time?
Well, the messed up part about it was since it was Christmas Day, no convoys were going out, and our mission is to provide safe passage for armed forces and Iraqi forces. And since no one was going to be out that day, we kind of were like, why are we going out if no one's going to be out?
Right, you didn't even know why you were doing it.
We're not protecting anybody. So it was a big whole thing. They finally made us go that night, and we're up north.
Did you normally operate at night?
Yeah. So
isn't it harder to find the bomb in the dark?
Well, that's when people are most active during the night.
Okay, so you're also looking for them doing stuff.
Yeah, so we would have 3 platoons. One go out in the morning, one go out in the afternoon, one goes out at night. So the vehicles are constantly going because as soon as they come in, we're hopping in, we're going out. So it's a constant thing. But yeah, it switches like you on for 2 weeks, and then you go afternoon 2 weeks, morning 2 weeks, so you don't get complacent about it. But this particular time we were out at night, and we're up in northeast Baghdad on a semi-dangerous road, and we ended up coming across a EFP, which is an IED that has an infrared laser on it, and it detects anything that has heat on it.
That's crazy to me because I think that sometimes you look at something on the news and you're watching that war, even that war there. And, I remember like in 91 when Saddam was saber rattling and like everybody was nervous about what was going to happen. And then Stormin' Norman just goes in there and the thing was over in like a week, right? And then you're like, I don't take these guys seriously at all. Like, I don't think I ever took Iraq seriously at all after that moment. I was like, these guys, like if we really want, we just walk right in there. That's kind of how you felt.
Yeah.
You felt a little cocky. As somebody sitting on their couch who didn't serve, unlike this hero over here who has served. I felt a little cocky as a teenager after that. When I watched
it's a little
that in the
easy
90s.
to do that.
I was a little cocky, right?
Like, yeah, look what we did.
But I could never imagine that, like, because normally an IED is essentially, I can't remember what it stands for again. It's what
improvised explosive device.
That's what I thought. So improvised would suggest to me is something that more like insurgents, terrorists, people who don't have a lot of technical know-how are putting there. They're placing a grenade underneath something that if it gets moved, the grenade goes off. That's what I always imagine. You're telling me they got infrared and heat-seeking sensors on the bombs that they're setting up on the side of the road. That's something I just never could have pictured in my mind if somebody called it an IED. I always thought it was crude.
No, these guys know what they're doing. It's called improvised because they make these explosives out of like a beeper, a garage door opener. We've even had Christmas lights across the road where it's pressure sensitive. And that's why it's called improvised, because they just come up with these crazy ideas, especially with this EFP that we had. Right. It was, what they did was they took a chunk out of the curb and then put these EFPs, molded it into a curb and put it back into the curb.
But now you're out there at night. Do you spot this thing? Is it something that goes off where you notice it right before it happens? Is it something you don't realize it's there till the boom has happened?
The front vehicle didn't notice it. So basically when an IED goes off, it's a flash of light, and then milliseconds later is the boom. And so from my point of view, I was in the second vehicle. I wasn't facing toward the IED, but in my windows that I have up in my gunner's hatch, I can see the flash, and then you're like, uh-oh, and then it goes off.
Are you up top in the Humvee?
Yeah.
So you're in the gunner's thing up top, which I would think would be a frightening place to be when something blows up, because wouldn't it be safer inside the Humvee instead of up top?
Most likely, but a lot of the times, a problem I had my second deployment was they were making IEDs under the streets and everything. So when it would explode, the force of the explosion would actually shoot the gunners out of their hatches about 20 feet, and then they would fall and break their legs. So my second deployment, I actually had to wear a harness around me, and I was attached to the floorboard.
Wow.
Jeez.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane. So you guys are improvising because of their improvisation. You have to react to everything that they're doing while you're over there.
Every month, every week, every day almost, we would have to improvise and adapt to what the enemy was doing.
So when that flash goes off in front with that first vehicle, does everything slow down? Because, you hear people, you see it in movies, everything slows down. You hear people talk about like something that happens, everything slows down. Did it slow down for you, or was it boom and it happened? Like it was quick, as you would imagine it would?
From that point of view, yeah, it was kind of quick. But yeah, when you're in that explosion, yeah, there is kind of that slow motion where you're trying to get your equilibrium back.
Yeah.
And yeah, it takes a couple of seconds to realize what you're actually doing. And then all of a sudden, all right, you got to do what you got to do.
So now it's happened, and now it's basically, I would imagine, recovery and also making sure that it's not the beginning of a bigger ambush. Because I would think that sometimes they set things off and there's guys ready to start picking you off once you get out of the vehicles to help everybody, right?
Yeah, especially that night we didn't know what was going on. So guys had to get out, go help the vehicle, had to assess it. The vehicle was on fire because one of these EFPs went through the gas tank and out the other way. So it did kind of start a fire. So we had to put out the fire first. Unfortunately, one of the things that night is we didn't have enough fire extinguishers. So when we actually got the fire out and tried to get the vehicle out of the area, the friction of the brakes lock up if it ever gets hit. So that friction started the fire again. Also at the same time, there's only one way in these vehicles. We weren't actually in Humvees or in these things called RG-31s. And all it is a back door that you go in and out of, and it's a little narrow corridor. I mean, I'm a big guy.
You're huge. This guy's a big dude sitting in my bar.
So I gotta crouch down, and especially to get up to the drivers, you have to go through this little thing. And what I would have to do is I had to put my legs in first to sit into the driver's seat to get in, and then I would have to get out the same way. So a lot of the little guys would be the drivers. But what happened was this EFP actually, the pressure crushed the RG a little bit. So we weren't able to get the driver out because he was a little bit bigger. His passenger was a tall, scrawny guy, and somehow he was able to get out.
Right.
But he passed away from his wounds. And also the gunner, he kind of fell out of the hatch because we sit up in this little harness that's up there. But when he came down, the pressure of the vehicle kind of pinned him in too as well. So he couldn't get out as well.
It's awful. And it's, and you told me that you talk about these things. You wrote the book because it helped you get through the pain of going through that. I mean, like we've talked before. We talked on the air. We talked off the air. And I always sit there and say, why'd you write about it? Why do you relive it? Why do you talk about it so much? and you say it helps.
In the beginning, I would talk about it and I would just like feel sick to my stomach, like I'd want to throw up. It wasn't until 3 years ago when I wrote the book, I just started writing. And it felt better and better. Like I didn't have to hold in the story anymore. So I just kept writing and then leaving all my emotions on paper. And it kind of lifted the weight off my shoulders. Surprisingly, I didn't think that would ever be something I would be able to do. But yeah, it did help. And over the last 3 years, I've been healing ever since. And being able to talk about it helps a little bit more now. It's a lot easier now. I don't have to live with that on my shoulders anymore.
It's an incredible story. The book itself is really an interesting read. There's some tough moments inside the book, but if you ever wanted to just get a really unfiltered, I believe, view of what it was like, and what it is like for anybody that has to go over and serve in a war zone and put their life on the line, and those that unfortunately don't come back. Sadly, don't come back. Tragically, don't come back. It's really a great read, and it's a wonderful thing. It's called A Bomb Hunter's Story. Eric Herrera is the author. He's an Evergreen Park guy. Last time I saw you, where were we at? We were at the
Hawks game.
Well, we were at the Hawks game, that's for sure. He took me to a Hawks game.
That's amazing.
He took me to a Hawks game.
That's so cool.
We saw one of the rare Blackhawk games that they won.
Yeah.
Those games are going to get better now because you're going to get Bedard. And now it's going to be a fun time.
Yeah, we almost saw a goalie fight too.
Oh yeah, we saw that. We were there tonight that there was going to be a goalie fight. It was great. Like it was interesting. Like I don't know if you'll be embarrassed by me telling the story, but I think it's interesting when you're with a vet and they're at a sporting event, and they'll do the thing where they honor the vet.
Right.
They don't get like all excited about it because they were there too. That's kind of a normal thing, isn't it? Like, I think I asked you something about that. You're like, yeah. What am I cheering for? I was out there too. Like, you were kind of like, that's for all you people. Like, I'm just here having a hot dog. I'm just relaxing, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I maybe once in a while I might stand up and clap, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. It just.
do you feel different about who they bring out? Like, I mean, every once in a while they bring out somebody and it's like, won a bronze star and 2 Purple Hearts. And you're like, yeah, I'm standing, I'm clapping, I'm going nuts. And it's like, served as a desk clerk in Wyoming for 20 years. And you're like, I don't know if that's the same thing. That seems very different when they're like that. Like,
different way of serving.
Worked at a desk for the Air Force. Filing HR paperwork for 20 years, and they've got him standing there in the middle of like the baseball game or the hockey game, and you're like, I don't know if that's the same as the guy with the Purple Heart or the World War II vet standing next to him. It's very different to me.
Yeah, so the military has like different criteria for like ceremonies. That's actually kind of considered a ceremony, and a lot of the people that actually go out on the ice or whatever, they're not in the proper uniform. So that's kind of like a little highlight that I always go through. People kind of, when I watch a game, they're like, what's wrong with them now?
You sit there and you look at it. I could tell. We were at the Hawks
Interesting.
game and he was a little critical. He was like,
I wouldn't have thought about that.
Yeah, he was just kind of shrugging at who was out there. I don't know. I mean, like, is that really the same as being blowed up, that you were like in Albuquerque working?
Albuquerque.
Yeah, you're at the recruitment office. Is that really the same thing? It was interesting. Stand next to a guy who's seen battle.
And everyone stands up for the desk clerk.
Right, they're standing up for the person who's not even in the right uniform. Like, it's kind of like, I can't say anything, right? Like, I'm a jerk if I say it, but
We don't
stand
know
next to
any
him,
better. We don't know any different.
I love listening to him talk about it. That was a highlight for me.
What's funny is that waiting list for the Hawks is 5 years.
Have they ever asked you?
Really?
Or does somebody have to put you in?
You have to request it.
You have to request it.
Yeah.
So the desk clerk is requesting it to get tickets. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah, so
That's amazing. That's amazing.
my uncle got on the ice, but he had to wait 5 years. So
Right.
he was a Vietnam vet.
Okay, thank God. If you would have said that he worked in HR, I would have felt really embarrassed.
No, he was a combat engineer in Vietnam too. So I got a lot of information from him because of it. But then he said like there was another guy he talked, and there was a third guy there that they were trying to talk to, but he went on the ice and then he like ran away, and he was kind of like, where did the guy go? So he was like, he seemed a little shady.
Yeah.
So, but sometimes maybe you might get one of those.
I don't know whether or not this guy actually was part of anything. Like, he may have got that uniform someplace. That's got to drive you absolutely nuts.
Oh yeah, I don't know if you guys have. It's not on the news.
Yeah.
It was the biggest stolen valor ever. Sarah, I think her name is Sarah Kavanaugh.
What did she do?
She worked for the VA, claimed that she was a Marine, I think it was, but was actually what she was doing was she was stealing the information from soldiers' DD-214s and putting them on her fake record. And she even got charities. She even got to give her money. I think it was almost $500,000 she stole. She just got convicted 7 years in prison.
Good.
So, yeah.
Definitely. We've covered a lot. I really appreciate you sitting down with us for the show. Eric Herrera, Bomb Hunter's story. He's a vet, and it just an important weekend for him just passed here. And the next big weekend coming up in November will be Veterans Day, and in between, you will probably see him out and about throughout Evergreen Park. Thank you, my friend.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Building relationships, supporting the community, and service. These are the things that Country Financial stands for. They're more than just an office you may pass by as you drive through Evergreen Park. They're neighbors who lend a helping hand and support the fabric of your community, including charitable organizations, sports, financial education, and civic organizations. And since Country is already your neighbor, they want to get together and chat. Call your local Country Financial representative, Mike Thauer, today at 708-425-1559 to talk about the things that are important to you and how he can help you protect them. It's now time for your EP podcast, Word on the Street, brought to you this week by Sid Sauce. They grow the peppers here in Evergreen Park. They make them into delicious hot sauces of all kinds of flavors. Like there's one right now that I'm using that is strawberry based. And you would never think that a strawberry hot sauce would be good. It's spectacular. They have a garlic hot sauce that I love putting on wings. Check out everything they have to offer. They're going to deliver to your door. Go to sidsauce.net. If you were looking forward to walking with Mayor Burke over at Yukich Field, the Walk with the Mayor event, and then you thought to yourself, oh no, I missed it. Don't worry, it actually got rescheduled since the last time that we've spoken. The new date is June 1st, 9 a.m. It kicks off over at Yukich, where the farmers market is. The Evergreen Park Recreation Department wants to remind you that summer camp registration is now open. It starts on June 12th, goes to August 4th, kids in 1st through the 6th grade. Weekly field trips, swimming twice a week, $1,000 for the full 8 weeks. I'm actually really interested in their adult strength training class that's going to be happening. 50-minute full body workout designed to build strong and lean muscles. It's happening Tuesdays and Thursdays, 7 to 7:45 in the morning, starting on the 6th of June, going towards the end of July. And if you have kids out there looking to babysit, I recommend the American Academy of Pediatrics Babysitters class, June the 17th. The youth department putting this on kicks off at 9 a.m., goes to 3:30 in the afternoon, $60. Registration open for ages 12 and older. You want to get your registration form in though, and your payment at the youth department over at the community center by June 9th. The first of several upcoming summer concerts being put on by the Village happens on June 11th over at Klein Park. The Stingrays will be playing. The Stingrays will be our guest on our Thursday night live show, 8 p.m. until 9 p.m. this Thursday. Best place to watch is on YouTube because you can put it up on your television. You can also get it through our Facebook page and Twitter account. Very easy to watch, and then I put some of the best stuff in the next episode of the EP podcast. So we'll have the Stingrays in there, and we're going to have to talk about this thing with Most Holy Redeemer shutting down their carnival. We got teenagers getting together on Facebook and organizing a ruckus and then showing up and ruining events. And now the biggest fundraiser that Most Holy Redeemer has isn't happening. And that isn't even the most concerning thing. Like if a parish looked at the problem and said, we're going to have to hire more security, and that's going to really cut into the fundraising, so maybe we should just do something else. I get that. Ridge Fest got canceled though, for the same reason. Chicago Ridge basically said, we're nervous about this, so we're shutting down our massive annual festival. This can't happen. That's dangerous. You start shutting everything down because you're nervous and the bad guys win. Give us your viewpoint on it. Talk to us live this Thursday, 8 to 9 p.m., the EP Podcast Live. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about it.
It's the EP Podcast, all things Evergreen Park. It's the EP Podcast. Evergreen Park.